plan, President Zuma of South Africa, had already accepted him for asylum. Plans were underway to talk to Gaddafi for him to move to South Africa. So yes, the decision to take out Gaddafi went against the wishes of the African Union. We wished things had been handled a little differently. You're quite right. I think, but when you're coming up against the wishes of more powerful forces, again, it goes back to Africa taking its rightful place on the world stage. But AU was clearly opposed to the manner in which Gaddafi was taken out without a plan for replacement, which is what led us to the Libya that we have today.
My second question, black racism on white. I've seen farms being taken over by Mugabe forces, the ZANU-PF people. What is the African Union doing to, when we talk about racism from Africa and we bash colonists, and we actually are doing that to their citizens right there, what are you going to do to recompensate and rehabilitate those citizens who have been there for 4 generations, 5 generations? What is African Union going to do for that?
Okay, I like the fact that you're putting a timeline there. See, with history, we have a tendency to say, well, let's start the story from here moving forward. But let's not talk about the story going back. In Zimbabwe, you have to say, how did we get there? Let me take 1 minute and summarize it for you. When the British came to Zimbabwe, they analyzed the country and divided it into 4 regions. Region 1 was the best soil, the best rains, best conditions for farming. Region 2, pretty close to Region 1. Region 3, there were some areas there, the soil was not so good, and the rain was good, but not the best. Region 4, no rain. The soil was horrible, mosquitoes and sesaflies. So they set out a plan. If you were an adventurous British, a veteran of the First or Second World War, you were guaranteed 2,000 hectares. Hectares, multiply 2,000 by 2.2. You were guaranteed that much in Zimbabwe, plus any loot from the local people. So a British man would land in Zimbabwe. So based on the regions that they had decided, they were going to move all the black people, preferably from the region 1 and 2 to region 4. So the process started. And how did a British map up their land? You got on a horse, they'll tell you this region. Get on a horse, and you ride in one direction for a day until either you or your horse were tired. You put your peg. Tomorrow morning, you do the same thing. So it took 4 days for the Englishman to map up his land. At the end of the 4 days, everything in it is yours. And the people who lived on that land were told, in this direction, go past this mountain. In this direction, go past this river. They left with whatever they could carry. The chickens, the goats, the cows, they were theirs. And some of them were not so lucky. You barely settled again when another Englishman came, and he was given that part. And there you were again. Slowly the process of moving black people to the west parts of the country started, and it was finally completed in the 50s. Now,
it's the Breakout Soundmaker.
Please, Gloria, Tiny Macarado. Let's take it back and later when they gave us our freedom. Yeah, we thought everything would be okay. Never knew they operating the slavery. Misery and misery is what we see. Agony and pain is all we feel. In the rest, slavery is all we do. And when the Chinese trying to take over our lands, trying to steal our race and seas, Africa, we gon' rise up, get it strong back. Hey. In the red, slavery is what we're doing. generous. Oh yeah. If we can come together, blacks all over the world, we can conquer. With one voice, one mind, we can conquer this. With one voice, one line, someday we'll win. It's so painful, one pity I will leave it. Hope someday we can free. My brothers and sisters, let's rise up so that we can win this race. We've been working a time, but they're depriving us from our rights. This is the right time for we to get up and take what's yours and mine. They've been fooling us, they're fighting us, trying to turn our back to each other. Enough is enough. Let's rise up cause we are one. Yeah, yeah. In the red slavery is what we do. Living generous. Oh yeah. If we can come together, blacks all over the world, we can conquer. With one voice, one mind, we can conquer this. With one voice, one line, someday we'll win. Yeah. Can't do this alone. I need you, my black brothers from all over the world. We need to join arms together and fight for our rights. One voice, one mind, one soul, one spirit. We can get it. Time's traveling. Yeah. Tiny Makala. Thanks for the inspiration. It's Clarion.
Now, you want to ask me who needs to be compensated? Are you with me?
Yes.
So we got to go to the beginning rather than understanding things superficially. How did you get your hand? It just goes about how fast you could go. Some of these farmers were owning 5, 6, 7 farms. I know.
It's Clarion. Yeah, yeah. Tiny Makala.
It's the Brickhill sound maker.
It all started in the Bible, Deuteronomy 28. King James Version, you can check it. Away from Israelite. Oh yeah. And it shall come to pass. Africa's slavery was made legal in the Spanish Caribbean. King flipped it over. Slaving our mothers and fathers into lose their lives. Many heroes died during the process. Puerto Ricans are part of Africans. They try to tear us apart, brainwash us, but we still Africans. Black is beautiful, black is original, black is beautiful. Hey, yeah. Black is beautiful, black is original, black is beautiful, yeah. Oh, yeah. Our skin is the weapon that they fear. They see us as a competitor for the long run with the Hebrews from Israelite. Yeah. They're trying to paint it black and red. They're trying to make us lose the way. Oh, we the God-chosen people. We gon' make it, we gon' bring it back home. Africa, we gon' get the throne back. Oh yeah, it's a rocking process. We're black and we're beautiful. We're strong, we're not gonna stop. Black is beautiful, black is beautiful, black is original. Yeah. Black is beautiful. Hey, hey. Black is beautiful, beautiful, intelligent. Black is original. Black is beautiful, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm black and I'm proud of who I am. I'm black doesn't mean I'm daft. Blacks are intelligent, hardworking and diligent. Oh, yeah, yeah. Put all the colors in this world together. All that we give you is black. And I'm proud to say I'm black. I'm proud of who I am. They try to isolate us, but we find they push us to the world, but we still try to abuse us. We get it stronger. Blacks are exceptional. Black is beautiful. Black is original, so real. Black is beautiful. Yeah, 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 yeah. Black is beautiful. I'm black. Black is original. Black is beautiful. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know where you're from. You're black all around the world. Puerto Rico. You're black. Your skin is worth more than gold. Diamonds.
My family farm. And I grew up hearing the story from my own father. When the situation took place in the case of my father, he remembers distinctly he was a teenager. And he used to, when white men came to Africa with their pants, they called them men without knees. He remembers men without knees coming to the village on horses. There was some hush-hush talk. He didn't know what was going on. But he remembers waking up one morning and the whole village was on fire. They were being torched by these men without knees on horses. His aunt was pregnant and was due any day. So they had asked for permission for her to stay until she delivers. It was one little hut that was left standing in a burnt-out village. They left with whatever they could carry. Sadly for them, Aunt didn't deliver for 3 weeks. My father spoke about how scared he was every morning. The men without knees coming to check and see if my aunt had delivered. There was him, an uncle, another grandmother who was the midwife, and another aunt. They all crumbled up in this one room. When she finally delivered, 3 days after delivery, they were told to walk, go find the others who had left before. Now the loot law, it's in the history books. You don't have to go far. It's in the British history books. As a matter of fact, the British started fighting themselves over how to distribute the loot as they go from one place, one village to the other. It was acceptable. So, son, do you still want to ask me who is owed what? May I rest my case?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But those people still have families. We need to be compassionate.
Thank you.
Those people still have families too. I do have families. And when I go home and they're still in Region 4, I got a problem with that.
Thank you. Just
2010.